Dr. Grant, over to you when you are ready. Good afternoon, everyone. We are about to start this afternoon session. May I hand over to Dr. Grant, who will take us through the program.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome on behalf of the Association of Caribbean Higher Education Administrators and its membership. I welcome you all to today's webinar. Just a little quick background about myself. I was just looking through the list, and it looked like I'm the only one who is listed here that is outside the Caribbean presently. I'm originally from Jamaica, studied at the University of the West Indies in Mona and at Caville, and then came to the US in the 90s. I did live in Barbados both for 3 years of studies and 3 years working with the Caribbean Examination Council. That was 87 to 90. As I mentioned earlier, for those who might have been online, Barbados is my second, I see it as my second home. My first child was born there, and I try to visit whenever I can. And the ACHEA conferences as a good excuse for me to get back to the Caribbean. Unfortunately, this year we're virtual, but it gives us an opportunity to still stay together as a community of administrators in higher education. Myself, I'm in academia exclusively as a professor in computer science here, but I've taken on an administrative umbrella or cap, as well as the associate director for my School of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. So with that background, I'll just now speak about our presenter for today's session. Sania Hines will be presenting today on the title of the presentation is Breaking the 24-Hour Technology Cycle, Your Health and Wellness, with the subtitle of To Unplug or Not Unplug, Effects and Factors of Digital Addiction. And so as to provide us listening audience with as much content as possible, I will now ask Ms. Hines to proceed with our presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. You could hear me well?
Yes, well, I can.
Okay.
Yes, you're coming across loud and clear.
We're hearing you.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's a pleasure to be here presenting this afternoon.
I'm sorry, the connection went just now. Hello.
Yes, please. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be here presenting this afternoon. As Dr. Grant indicated, the subtitle of the presentation is To Unplug or Not to Unplug, Effects and Factors of Digital Addiction. Now, the objective and scope of the presentation is to highlight the negative effects which digital addiction could have on us as human beings. Now, we know that most individuals, both young and old, we spend a considerable amount of time on our mobile devices. Now, today, there's always that urge to always be connected. If not, individuals may feel that they are missing out. But like everything else in life, we should utilize technology in moderation, and we could utilize technology in moderation, and we could achieve this by simply setting limits on the length of time which we spend on our devices daily, or we may even unplug altogether. Now, there are some international companies who have implemented policies to govern the use of technology after work hours. So to break this 24-hour technology cycle, we need to control digital addiction. So this afternoon, I will discuss several psychological, sociological, and technological factors which are associated with digital addiction. Of course, there are benefits to be realized from breaking that cycle. And I will conclude by providing tips and recommendations which we could adopt at our respective institutions. Now, on this slide, you will see history, where we've come, how far we've come in terms of technology. We have the pager, very ancient, but still being used nowadays. And with EMTs still use pagers. And we have the cell phone, which has now evolved into a smartphone. We have typewriters, the first big computer, and we're now into tablets and iPads. Now, technology, there are a number of advantages and disadvantages that are associated with technology. And these advantages include, but are by no means limited to, the ease with which we perform tasks and the ease of conducting research. So today we could easily open Microsoft Word, type a document, Microsoft Excel, and present a numerical document, and that's easy. Enhanced communication, we could now reach persons all across the globe, so we don't have to send smoke signals anymore. Now there's also online education, and given the pandemic, persons are making more utilization of this, with students now sitting at home and studying. We also have virtual doctor visits, which enable the patient to stay at home or at work in their comfort zone and carry out a visit with their doctor. Just as with everything else, there are disadvantages of technology. And some of these disadvantages include musculoskeletal disorders, carpal tunnel syndrome, computer vision syndrome, text neck syndrome, sleeping problems, obesity, and chronic disease. And I will go into each a bit further. So a review of epidemiological studies of visual display unit work by Punnett and Burvis, 1997, found that visual display unit work, when compared to non-visual display unit work, led to higher risk of neck, shoulder, arm, wrist, and head musculoskeletal symptoms. Several symptoms have also been found a positive correlation between computer use and musculoskeletal symptoms. Research have also shown that there is a relation between musculoskeletal illness among visual display unit workers and the number of work hours per day. The duration of time spent in front of a computer daily obviously has an impact on the users. Now, there are numerous factors which are linked to discomfort in the neck and shoulder, and these may include work pressure, demanding deadlines, a rapid work pace, prolonged keyboard use, and prolonged mouse use. Now, stressful posture as a result of your workplace design and your keyboard mouse design and the lack of sufficient breaks, they do impact your body. And in the long run, they could have an impact on your musculoskeletal system. Postural stress due to poor workstation design, for example, the location of the input and output devices, have also been found to be associated with musculoskeletal problems. We also have carpal tunnel syndrome. Now, this is a musculoskeletal disorder which is common among computer users. It can be defined as a complex of systems resulting from compression of the median nerve at the carpal tunnel. Some of these symptoms include pain or numbness on the anterior surface of the index, middle, or radial half of the ring finger. It is often associated with weakness of hand grip, hand or arm pain, or even numbness. Now, higher risk of carpal tunnel syndrome has been found when the wrist is kept in a flexed or extended position in comparison to a neutral position. So attention must be paid to ergonomics. Our workstations ought to be ergonomic. Keeping the hand in a neutral position while working with a computer can be facilitated to a great extent by having a fully adjustable chair and a proper position keyboard and mouse. Computer users ought to be reminded of the importance of keeping their hand in that neutral position. There's a statistically significant correlation with carpal tunnel syndrome and the use of the internet during leisure time by computer professionals, even after controlling for possible confounding factors. And this could be the result of a cumulative effect due to added exposure to computer work and due to an unergonomic working environment at home. You may have an ergonomic workstation, but when you go home or when you're out relaxing, it's not always an ergonomic space you're operating in. Sleeping problems. Sleeping problem was found to be one of the most common health issues occurring from the use of digital devices. Research has indicated that especially the blue light of smartphone screens, the diodes that are emitted, they influence the circadian system. That is the body's timekeeping system that regulates the needs of sleep. According to Tommy 2012, the Swedish National Survey of Public Health in 2010 reported that intensive use, that is more than 2 hours without breaks, of computer and mobile devices have been associated with sleep disturbances among both men and women. Obesity. Obesity is another health issue that can arise given the amount of time which users spend on digital devices, such as the computer and mobile phone. This reduces the extent of alternative physical leisure activities for an individual. Chronic disease. Sitting in the workplace contributes to overall sitting time. So administrative and personal managerial professional staff usually sit for 75% of their total work time. Healy, Salmon et al., 2008, surmised that prolonged period of uninterrupted sitting may also be detrimental with lower frequencies of breaks in sitting time linked to metabolic risk for chronic disease. Computer vision syndrome is also referred to as digital eye strain, and it is related to the use of digital technology. The American Optometric Association defined computer vision syndrome as the eye and vision problems associated with near-work experience during or related to computer use. Various symptoms are usually associated with computer vision syndrome, and these include blurred distance or near vision, double vision, headache, eye strain, dry or red eyes, neck ache or back ache, and even light sensitivity. Improper workplace conditions, such as lighting and seating, as well as poor work habits contribute to computer vision syndrome. And the quality and quantity of light also inhibits a computer user's ability to see well in the workplace. Of course, the amount of light differs from user to user. Lighting, vision, and posture therefore go hand in hand. So users may adjust their posture to release stress on their eyes. Thus, changes in posture may demonstrate a visually taxing environment. So one way to control the light on the computer screen would be to utilize an anti-glare screen to assist in reducing glare from overhead lights or even windows and screen reflections. So having an ergonomic workspace is therefore very important. According to research of the American Optometric Association, people who spend 2 or more hours per day in front of a digital screen are at risk of digital eye strain, eye and vision related problems. Now I know at the KFL campus, all administrative, technical, and service staff, we receive an annual examination for our eyes, given that we work constantly with visual display units. So given that utilizing a computer is vision intensive, it is reasonable to expect that improvements in a user's vision or the computer display will result in greater efficiency and productivity in the workplace. Numerous studies have found that there's a positive correlation between better displays or better vision and efficiency. TECHNOLOG syndrome. This refers to the neck pain and damage sustained from lengthy and frequent looking down at a cell phone, tablets, or other devices. A research study which was conducted in Thailand in 2015 found that 79% of the population between the ages of 18 and 44 have their cell phones with them almost all the time, with only 2 hours of their working day spent without their cell phone in hand. TECHNOLOG most commonly causes neck pain and soreness. In addition, looking down at your smartphone too much can lead to upper back pain ranging from chronic nagging pain to sharp and severe upper back muscle spasm. The term TECHNOLOG was coined by Dr. Dean Fishman, a US chiropractor, and it is used to describe a repetitive stress injury or an overuse syndrome where a person has his or her head hung or flexed in a forward position and is bent down looking at his or her mobile device for prolonged periods of time. Are you a digital addict? In the 21st century, the average individual has a mobile phone or tablet in their hands, utilizing it for everything from banking to reading to watching movies to participating in online classes and even to what we're doing now, participating in a webinar. So we do spend considerable amounts of time on our mobile devices. And in that, the very same way that we detox our bodies to get rid of the unhealthy toxins, we need to detox from the technology. So in an effort to prevent burnout, a growing number of employers across the globe have started to suggest or even mandate ways in which employees should unplug from their devices. The automaker Daimler, for example, made headlines for offering its staff software that auto-deletes employee email while they are on vacation. Volkswagen, in collaboration with its union, set its servers to stop mobile email service for some workers from 30 minutes after quitting time until 30 minutes before starting time. In January 2017, the French government decreed that people at companies with more than 50 staff members can no longer be expected to answer email during their off hours, a policy dubbed the right to disconnect. Factors of digital addiction. One, psychological factors. One of the most common forms of digital addiction in contemporary society is internet addiction. According to the World Health Organization, there are two typical psychological factors, which include withdrawal and negative repercussions or conflict. Withdrawal refers to feelings of anger, tension, anxiety, and or depression when the internet or computers are inaccessible. Negative repercussions or conflict indicate self-imposed social isolation and disintegration, lying, arguing, poor academic and occupational achievement, and fatigue. Several tensions could occur due to the inaccessibility of digital devices, and these tensions include social communication tensions, work communication tensions, security escape tensions, and immediacy connectedness tensions. Furthermore, inaccessibility to intercommunication technologies may even lead to suicide ideation. A study by Kim et al. 2006 examined the relationship between internet addiction, depression, and suicidal ideation in adolescents. They concluded that the high dependence on the internet among internet addicts was more related to suicidal ideation than to depression. Sociological factors. These are factors that affect the human mind of thoughts and the human behavior in social situations. A very common sociological issue resulting from digital addiction concerns problems in relationships. Donnelly 2012 found that people with a digital addiction often experience difficulties in their relationships. Interestingly, other studies have found that online affairs are also the result of digital addiction. A study by Young 1998 found that 53% of the users who were digitally addicted eventually experienced marital discord, separation, or even divorce. Now, digital addiction could also lead to job-related problems. Young 2004 surmised that while digital devices in the workplace could be beneficial to employees, since it makes communication flow easier, it could also be a distraction. Stewart 2000 concluded that employers lose billions of revenue owing to the internet abuse of employees at the workplace, which results in lower productivity. In addition, employees usually lack quality time with the family after working hours due to being connected and reachable by the employer 24 hours a day. So a healthy work-life balance could be defined as an amalgamation of health, good personal relations, mental welfare, and productivity and satisfaction in life and work. Because of this, several European political parties demand a legislative proposal that employees no longer have to be reachable after working hours. Loneliness. This is another factor and that results from digital addiction. According to research by Kara Petsos et al. 2015, they examined digital addiction among Greek students. They found that there was a high positive correlation between the addiction of digital devices and the feeling of loneliness. Other studies have found that poor communicators are more susceptible to digital addiction than those who possess better interpersonal skills. The technological factors. Market research indicates that being active on social media websites have been declining since July 2009, although the worldwide number of social media users is increasing annually. One reason for this is social media fatigue, which could be defined as social media users' tendency to pull back from social media when they become overwhelmed with too many social media sites, too many friends, too many followers, and too much time spent online maintaining these connections. Boredom and concerns about online privacy are also linked to social media fatigue that often occurs among early adopters. Now, several companies, as I said earlier, implemented changes in the way employees use intercommunication technologies at work and outside of work. For instance, European political parties demand a legislative proposal that employees no longer have to be reachable after working hours. Many employers in France already began to prohibit employees from responding to emails outside of office hours. In addition, companies such as Facebook, Apple, Twitter, Google, to name a few, have also sent their workers on tech-free retreats for their sociological and physical health well-being. Benefits of breaking the cycle. There are social, mental, and physical benefits involved. Unplugging. Unplugging can have a positive impact on social relationships since it affords one the opportunity to socialize and connect on a deeper level in an unhurried manner with your partners, family, friends, neighbors. A study by Butner found that constant interruption, it hinders our ability to take emotional cues. So our ability to be aware of our emotions, of other people and ourselves and our surroundings, limited by be constantly being plugged into the technology. So if we are constantly stuck on our devices, what real time is there to spend with loved ones and family? I know many of us would have seen maybe in a restaurant and you will see a couple or a party having dinner, but yet still everyone sucked into the device. And we don't want to lose our friendships due to our constant smartphone use and abuse. We find ourselves in dire straits where we are sadly more connected to a device than to other human beings. Mental. Participants in a study by Dane 2013 found that the value of relaxing and taking a break from everyday concerns presented them with the opportunity to reflect on themselves. So we need to take some time, whether it's just to sleep, enjoy nature, go to a gym, participate in a sport, or even an extracurricular activity. Part 2013 found that employees who are able to disconnect from work whilst away from the job tend to experience lower levels of fatigue and job burnout. He also found that such individuals also have higher levels of positive emotions and life satisfaction than those who remain connected to work beyond work hours. So work-life balance is important and it is achievable. Employees need to balance the roles, their various roles, whether it be a parent, friend, employee, balance the roles. Work-life balance is an important aspect of a healthy work environment, and it is in the reduction of stress and the prevention of burnout in the workplace. By creating a work environment that prioritizes work-life balance, employers can reduce their expenses and maintain a healthier, more productive workforce. When we are well rested, we are able to think more clearly and more imaginatively. The excessive dependency on smartphones. How many times do we want to calculate a figure and we run straight to the computer, or we would like to find out the definition of something rather than pick up a dictionary, run to Google. So we are so dependent now on our devices. With the advent of the internet and the smartphone, we are no longer exercising that brain power which you would have exerted, say, 10 years ago. So just like our physical body, when we fail to exercise, our mind gets lazy as well. And there goes the creative and innovative thinking. Physical. Reed and Wallace, 2007, stated, our hearts rest after every beat to both recover and refill in order to pump more blood through our bodies. They theorize that refraining from activity and alternating work with rest for a period is as important to our overall health as is good nutrition. Tips on how to break this cycle. Digital detox, or we could unplug, or there are even apps which could help monitor our usage. The Cambridge Dictionary defines digital detox as a period of time during which we do not use mobile phones, our computers because we usually use these devices too much. It could also be referred to as digital pushback or digital disengagement. A state when an individual quits or suspends use of digital equipment and devices to utilize that time for social interactions and activities. It is a technique that enables an individual to release stress and anxiety incurred from being overoccupied by high utilization of devices. Unplugging. RAINS 2011 defined unplug as staying off digital and electronic devices completely, or only restricting the use of one or more of the following: email, social media, online research, text messaging, online chat, phone calls, television, and video games. After practicing this restriction, RAINS states one has to decide what to do instead. What are we going to occupy that time with? So you need to come up with a plan. She says that preparation is key. So if we're not spending that time on social media anymore or on the device anymore, what are we going to fill that time with? If your boss requires you constantly, then you make yourself available to your boss. You should have, in the event that the boss doesn't need you on such a constant basis, then you could have some plan of emergency contact in place. RAINS 2011 notes, one must realize that there will be anxiety about what one is missing at first. So this is where the importance of the plan comes in. You're no longer on the device constantly, so you now you're thinking, what is going on? What am I missing out on? What am I missing out on Facebook, Twitter, etc.? So have that activity plan in place, and this would assist you in your detox. Aaron found that when separating self from work activities, the key is that the separation must also include mental separation and not just physical separation. So unplug and take some time to reconnect with yourself and be active in activities taking place around you. This could be of incredible value for you. Use of apps to reduce time spent on social media. I know for sure the Apple device has this feature which produces a weekly report on the screen time, whether it has increased or decreased over the past week. So this could assist you in monitoring your use of digital devices. I'm going to share a few tips to overcome computer vision syndrome relief, musculoskeletal symptoms, and TECHNOLOG. So we should be aware of eye fatigue. No visual display units, the constant use thereof, as I said, eye strain, blurry vision, double vision, headaches. So we ought to be aware of that eye fatigue. We could reduce the amount of time that we spend in front of the computer, and there's a 20-20-20 rule which we could follow, which is after working 20 minutes on the computer, look away at 20 feet for a minimum of 20 seconds. Have an eye examination conducted yearly and be sure to indicate the length of time which you spend on a computer daily. Set your computer to minimize and relieve computer vision symptoms. So utilize an ergonomic position of your monitor and chair. A smaller angle of gaze leads to more computer vision symptoms than a larger gaze, such as 14 degrees or more. Use of proper lighting and minimizing glare. So lighting should be half of that of normal room illumination when using a computer. And you must also close the blinds or shades to reduce glare or reflections on the computer screen. Adjust and clean your computer screen. Ensure that it's clean so you won't have to strain your eyes. Ensure that you blink, because if you focus too much on the screen, you blink less, and this causes uneven distribution of tear film over the eye, causing eye strain. Take breaks. You cannot emphasize enough the importance of taking breaks from the computer, since this reduces pressure on the entire body, your legs, your eyes, hands, entire body, and sit at a safe distance from your computer. Tips to reduce musculoskeletal symptoms. Have an ergonomically designed workstation, complete with properly positioned monitor, keyboard, and mouse. Reduce the length of time spent on devices. You could also change the operation of your mouse between the preferred hand and the non-preferred hand to remove pressure on your preferred hand. Sit-stand workstations, sit-stand, are another operation to vary your posture during the workday. And height adjustable workstations, they attach to the desk, the worker's desk, and it allows the individual to adjust the height of the screen and the keyboard so they could work in either sitting or standing position, whichever is comfortable. Now, these ergonomic workstations are utilized not only to prevent musculoskeletal disorders in the lower back or upper limb, but to increase productivity. Good forearm support has been found to reduce exposure to musculoskeletal disorders. Tips to reduce text net. Taking frequent breaks from mobile devices about every 20 minutes. You should constantly look up and bring the net back into its original neutral position. Other alternatives are to hold the mobile devices or electronic devices higher so that they're aligned with the eyes and the stress on the neck muscles is reduced. Tips to break the cycle or to unplug. Make time to spend with your family, and you could even hand over your electronics upon reaching home. Turn off your notifications when you're at work. You could also turn off your phone after hours, place the device in airplane mode, or turn off the modem. Designate at least one day a week to detox. That is no use of technology. And while you're on vacation, you ought to practice taking a vacation from the devices as well. You could find an extracurricular activity, a sport, or even join the gym. Now, there's potential in Barbados and the Caribbean by extension for guest houses, hotels, and the like to offer digital detox holidays where guests could surrender their mobile devices on check-in and collect them upon checkout. That way, you can concentrate on your own well-being. Being constantly plugged in will eventually lead to mental fatigue. Many of today's children, they are not aware of the wonderful times which their parents or grandparents would have enjoyed outdoors prior to the advent of this rampant technology. Now, the older folks used to exercise and move around a lot, so they were not susceptible to the many ailments which the younger generation now complain about. Recommendations. Now, ergonomics can be defined simply as the study of work. More specifically, it is the science of designing the job to fit the worker, rather than physically forcing the worker's body to fit the job. Adapting tasks, workstations, tools, and equipment to fit the worker can help reduce physical stress on a worker's body and eliminate many potentially serious disabling work-related musculoskeletal disorders. Utilize the 20-20 rule. Take a 20-second break to look at something 20 feet away every 20 minutes. Employees themselves should also take some downtime after work. A good work-life balance enables employees to perform at their optimum. Yes, we have our responsibilities both at home and at work, so we have to find that middle ground. Take regular breaks from your workstation. Incorporate exercise into your daily routine and try to complete this without using your electronic devices. spend time working on one spirituality, either reading the Bible or another inspirational book, instead of being consumed and bombarded by technology. Whilst on vacation, you may consider taking a vacation from technology. Do not be constantly hooked on your devices unless, of course, your job demands such. Before you proceed on leave, be sure to add out of office automatic replies so that urgent emails could be redirected accordingly. Employers could develop a health and wellness policy, which would include, but by no means be limited to, a discussion on technology use and highlights the benefits and importance of breaking that technology cycle. In the same manner in which we place attention on sexual harassment and workplace bullying, health and wellness should be considered as well. And I know in Barbados, we have the National Workplace Wellness Policy, which could in turn be married with a company's health and wellness policy. Nations may also formulate legislation to govern disconnection from devices. Of course, we do understand that there will be instances where employees have to be in constant contact with their employers, and such instances could also be defined by this legislation. As I conclude, now more than ever is the time to separate ourselves from the technology. Be your own doctor. Prescribe some you time where you rid yourself of the technology and focus on yourself. Finally, be careful how you spend your time, because we know that an opportunity lost can never be regained, but our mental and physical health is paramount. If you envision that it will be challenging for you to unplug from the devices altogether, try reducing the number of hours spent on the device initially. Eventually, you will be able to limit yourself from them all. When detoxing, ensure that you have a plan on how you will spend this time, be it sleeping, walking, or exercising. And in terms of work commitments, ensure that you have a contingency plan should your employer need to contact you in case of an emergency. Work-life balance is critical. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hines. And before we proceed, I'd just like to extend an apology to all our attendees, and specifically to our speaker, to Mrs. Lucretia Gordon Bryson and Mrs. Antonia Charlemagne Marshall. There was a technical glitch, and I did not get a copy of the program ahead of the start of the webinar. And in order not to lose time, I had introduced a speaker to go ahead, missing two key items that would have preceded Ms. Hines' presentation. And so with that apology, I would like to now just have those two items covered. And I'd like at this moment to invite Mrs. Lucretia Gordon Bryson to provide our opening remarks. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Grant. Everyone hearing me? Are you hearing me, Dr. Grant? Hello?
Yes, you're clear.
Okay. All right. So our moderator, Dr. Emmanuel Grant, our presenter, Ms. Saniel Hines, wonderful presentation, might I add. Our esteemed executive members, friends, and prospective members of ACHEA, again, good afternoon to you. I wish to add my own bit of welcome to this webinar, especially to our first-time participants. Hope you enjoyed the session. I'm Lucretia Gordon Bryson, and I'm the Jamaica chapter chair, as well as the acting first vice president of ACHEA. This afternoon, just to greet you on behalf of the executive. And for those who are not familiar with ACHEA, the Association of Caribbean Higher Education Administrators, This is truly a wonderful organization, which was launched in July 2001. The overarching goal was to bring together a body of professionals who were chiefly responsible.
Unfortunately, we have lost Mrs. Gordon Bryson. She had been having some technical difficulty prior to the start of the session. I'll just wait a minute or two to see if she'll be able to get back on and complete her what would have been her introductory address.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, please continue. Thanks.
All right. So I'm at the point where I'm saying, for those who are not familiar with ACHEA, it's a wonderful organization which was launched in July 2001. The overarching goal was to bring together a body of professionals who were chiefly responsible for innovation and the maintenance of efficiency in the administrative operations of their respective tertiary level institutions. The association envisioned that these could be achieved through training and development programs, the identification and promotion of best practices, the provision of opportunities for effective networking and collaboration, and promoting institutional research. And can you imagine that in a couple of months, we will be celebrating 20 years of existence? Hitherto hath the Lord kept us. We're no longer a fledgling, but a solid and grounded organization that has weathered many storms. Among our accomplishments are the full registration of ACHEA as a company limited with a pending application for charitable status, 18 highly successful conferences, the establishment of 3 active chapters, each having responsibility for other territories, alliances with Bath University, and more recently, the Association of Commonwealth Universities, and membership in Europe, Africa, North America, and the Caribbean. Again, we would like to acknowledge Mrs. Gloria Barrett-Sobers, the founding member of ACHEA, for her vision and recognition that higher education administrators have a vital role to play in advancing the development of higher education institutions in the region. We also want other volunteers for their sterling contribution in the preservation of this noble association over the years. This year, COVID has rocked our ships in many ways. For ACHEA, the pandemic caused the cancellation of our annual conference in July. This is the second time in almost our 20-year history that we. However, this did not stop ACHEA from being impacted.
Once again, we seem to have lost Mrs. Gordon Bryson, and we'll just, again, hang on a couple of minutes while we try to reconnect.
Wow, technology. Are you hearing me?
Yes, thanks to have you back. Yes,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Right, let me try to wrap up as quickly as possible. So as I was saying, that this year was a difficult one, and for ACHEA, we did not have a conference for the second time in our almost 20-year history. However, this did not stop ACHEA from being impactful. Having adopted the tagline, "No conference, no problem," we have sought to bring to our various stakeholders free webinars on the topics of relevance to academic, administrative, and technical administrators operating in the tertiary landscape at this time. Today's session is the second in a special series of webinars organized to kick off the 20th anniversary celebrations. On October 30th, we hosted the first in the series, and this webinar was under the theme Administration in the Digital Age. Again, we thank our presenters, Dr. Anglin, Mr. Rudolph Sewell, and Ms. Verona Dawkins for their absolutely brilliant presentations. And these will be made available on our website, along with all the other previously held webinars in short order. And of course, you'll be notified of same. Our third and final in the series will be a workshop, and this date will be announced later. However, allow me to briefly highlight in closing some of the activities that are ahead. You would have received an invitation from Mrs. Casey and Martin Reed, Secretary of ACHEA, to our annual general meeting, which is scheduled for this Thursday, October 29, at 2 p.m. Jamaica time and 3 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time. Yesterday, the login credentials were sent, and so we urge you to join us in this very important meeting. Secondly, ACHEA has acquired a new management system tool to assist with the management of ACHEA's membership database. Members should have received the notification this past week. It is an email from myclubhouse.com, so it's not spam. It is so that you can renew your membership with ease. We urge you, one and all, to renew your membership or sign up to become a member to continue to benefit from these webinars and other services. Thirdly, we invite you to participate in our exciting celebrations, which will include chapter activities such as membership drives, more virtual workshops, special edition newsletters, virtual
Okay, another break in connection. As Mrs. Gordon Bryson was almost at the end of her introductory and welcome message, I would like to now move to asking Mrs. Antonia Charlemagne Marshall to formally introduce our presenter to as a after the event activity. Mrs. Charlemagne Marshall, go ahead, please. Your mic is muted.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to introduce, present Miss Sanielle Hines. She's a Barbadian by birth. She holds a Master's of Science degree in Project Management and Evaluation with distinction, and a Bachelor of Science degree of honors in Computer Science and Management with honors from the University of the West Indies Cato campus. Ms. Hines joined the staff of the UWI Cato campus in 2010. She currently holds the position of Personal Assistant to the Principal. Previously, she served as Research Assistant at the Accreditation Secretariat and was also an Administrative Assistant at the Institute for Gender and Development Studies, the Barrow Unit, and also the Office of Business and Internationalization. Her research interests include project management and project evaluation. In the near future, Ms. Hines intends to pursue a doctorate in management studies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And once again, I apologize for the reordering of the events, but it's, as you can see, we do have these technical glitches in this digital age in which we live now, almost fully immersed. Now, at this point in time, I will invite all in attendance here, if they have questions for our speaker, Ms. Hines. You can now start posing those questions. And just to make things work well, if you would raise your hand through the reaction icon, and then I will identify you. But first I have to get everyone in view here. Yes, I think I have everyone there now. So if there are any questions, you can just raise your hand, and I'll identify the questioner. Well, just to start things off, Ms. Hines, I have a question with respect to, I teach a course in user interface design. And so I actually am trying to get people to be more screen present. But having listened to your talk, I realized that what you have covered here has impact for some of the topics that I teach in my courses here. And so the question I have for you is that in your studies, have you looked at that angle as to the way in which information is provided, the actual screen layout, and what impact that may have on some of the issues identified here in terms of some of the ergonomics? We move our head a lot when we tend to use these devices.
Could you please repeat, Dr. Grant?
Oh, the question was in your research in these topical areas that you have presented today, was there any look at how actual screen layout might impact some of the the negative physical impact that it has on the user? For instance, even just the issue of eye strain and what we're looking at the screen, reading up from one end of the screen to the other versus just having things more localized in the display.
Thank you. No, I didn't cover that in my research, but it is a key point which could be covered in a future study.
Yeah. Do we have any further questions from the attendees?
There's a question in the chat.
Oh, okay. I apologize. My chat window is closed here for a minute. Okay. The question is, how practical is it to reduce the time spent on technology, in particular handheld devices, during COVID-19, homeschooling and working from home?
Given that we're in a pandemic, so how practical is it? We can't really get away from it because now our ministries of education in our various countries, they have the students attending classes online, alternating days with physical school to follow protocols. So what we could do there in terms of children and devices, we could limit the extra time when they were spent gaming or playing on the device. We could limit that portion. Go back to the physical activity without the device. The outside playing, rather than stuck on device 8 hours for school and then another 4 or so hours for gaming and leisure. Hope that answers the question.
And I would also assume that in this pandemic period, if you're going to have activities, having them outside in open air environment is far better than having them indoor, where the environment there is closed and potentially more harmful than being outside. Are there any other questions from our attendees? If you wish, you can just simply pose your question in the chat and I will simply read them out to our speaker, presenter. Seems to have a pretty quiet crowd today. There have been a number of compliments though on the presentation itself. Overall, I've been kind of looking through the scroll here now, is that the presentation was seen to be well received. A number of persons have identified that it was highly informative. I think we have someone typing here. Okay, at this point, I would like to invite, I can get control of my screen again. Here. Okay, at this point, I would like to invite Mrs. Florence Francis, our Assistant Treasurer, to extend a vote of thanks to our presenter and the attendees in general.
Good afternoon, everyone. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we are.
On behalf of ACHEA, it is indeed a pleasure and honor to offer this vote of thanks. After such an engaging and informative webinar on breaking the 24-hour technology cycle, your health and wellness. A very special thank you to our presenter, Ms. Saniel Hines, someone who I know personally, for what is a thought-provoking, eye-opening presentation. The take back for me is addiction of digital devices leads to loneliness. And the fact that we should take a break, separate ourselves from the technology and focus on self. Thanks also to our audience, our members, our prospective members and friends, and for coming, spending the time with Saniel to learn about the advantages and disadvantages of technology. I must also say that I hope that you are stimulated in breaking the cycle, and that in doing so, you will improve your own health and your interpersonal relationships. Last but not least, I want to thank the persons behind the scenes who made this webinar the success it has been. Everyone, have a good afternoon, unplug, and continue to be safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Francis. And on behalf of ACHEA in general, I'd like to say thank you again to all who have been in attendance. And we look forward to having you once again, along with others, at the next ACHEA event, which is the upcoming general meeting. And the third item in this year's activity, in lieu of a conference, which will be the workshop next week. Our date to be announced. And we hope you all have a safe and healthy period until we do gather again for an event. Thank you for the opportunity to have sit through here as a moderator, and I look forward to future ACHEA events. Have a good day to you all. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.